66 million years ago, a rock about the size of a city came screaming out of the sky at 45,000 miles per hour and hit the coast of what is now Mexico with the force of 10 billion atomic bombs going off at once. And in the geological equivalent of a Tuesday afternoon, it ended the 165 million year reign of the most successful large animals this planet has ever produced. And that's where your story starts. Think about that for a second. Everything you are, every human being who has ever lived, every civilization, every idea, every language, every war, every song, every stupid thing we've ever done. All of it only happened because a single rock from space happened to hit Earth at exactly the right angle, at exactly the right time. Shift that trajectory by a fraction of a degree and the asteroid sails past. The dinosaurs keep going, and you never exist. Not you specifically, not humans, not anything even close to us. That's the most uncomfortable version of the story, and honestly, it's probably the true one. So let's talk about what actually happens if that rock misses. The first thing you have to understand is that the non-avian dinosaurs were already in some trouble before the impact, but they were nowhere near done. They'd been the dominant megafauna on this planet for 165 million years. To put that in perspective, the entire evolutionary history of our genus, all of Homo, from the earliest Homo habilis to you sitting here right now, spans about 2.5 million years. Dinosaurs had us beat by more than 60 times over. They weren't some fragile experiment on the verge of collapse. They were extraordinarily good at being alive, and without that asteroid, they keep going. Now, here's where the mammals come in, because this is the part people always get wrong. Mammals existed during the dinosaur age. They'd been around for roughly 180 million years alongside the dinosaurs, and for almost all of that time, they were small, they were mostly nocturnal, and they were very careful to stay out of the way. Little shrew-sized creatures scrambling around in the dark, eating insects, trying not to get stepped on. That was the deal. The dinosaurs owned the daylight. They owned the large body niches, the open grasslands, the forest floors. Mammals survived by staying invisible. And without the extinction event, that arrangement doesn't change. Our ancestors don't get their shot. They stay small. They stay hidden. The 65 million year mammalian explosion that eventually produced elephants and whales and primates and us. None of that happens. So, no humans. But that raises the more interesting question. Does anything smart show up instead? This is where we need to think carefully about what creates the conditions for intelligence to evolve in the first place. We often imagine that given enough time and the right body plan, intelligence inevitably emerges. But evolution doesn't work that way. Intelligence is metabolically expensive, developmentally risky, and offers no guarantee of improved survival in most environments. A successful apex predator doesn't need to get smarter. It needs to get better at what already works. The dinosaurs had a game that was profoundly successful, a system of predator and prey relationships finely tuned over hundreds of millions of years. Without the pressure of catastrophic extinction, that system would likely remain stable. There'd be competition, certainly, and innovation, but not the kind of fundamental disruption that forces a lineage to completely rethink its survival strategy. Stability, paradoxically, can be the enemy of the kind of innovation that eventually produces intelligence. Here's where it gets genuinely strange, because some of the dinosaurs were already moving in a direction that, given enough time, might have gotten interesting. The troodontids, a group of small theropods closely related to the lineage that eventually became modern birds, had some of the largest brain-to-body ratios of any dinosaurs we've found. They had forward-facing eyes, which suggests decent depth perception. They had grasping forelimbs. They were social hunters. Dale Russell, a Canadian paleontologist, actually published a thought experiment in 1982 about a hypothetical descendant of Troodon that he called the Dinosauroid, essentially asking what a highly encephalized theropod might look like after another 65 million years of evolution. And the answer he came up with was unsettling. Upright posture, larger cranium, manipulative hands, something that, from a distance, might look uncomfortably familiar. But here's the problem with that idea, and it's a big one. Evolution doesn't have a destination. There's no law that says intelligence is the inevitable endpoint of enough time and enough pressure. Dolphins have been around for roughly 50 million years. They're genuinely intelligent animals. They have complex social structures and communication systems, and they demonstrate what looks a lot like self-awareness. And in all of that time, they have never built a single thing, not one tool, not one structure, nothing that outlasts the animal that made it. Intelligence without the right ecological pressure to turn it into technology is just intelligence. It doesn't automatically become civilization. So even if the Troodontids had continued evolving for another 66 million years, there's no guarantee they end up anywhere near what we'd recognize as a thinking, building, world-altering species. They might just end up as very clever predators, which honestly is already a pretty successful strategy. But let's say something does make the leap. Let's say one lineage somewhere under the right pressures, maybe resource scarcity, maybe a climate shift, maybe just the random luck of the right mutations in the right sequence, develops something like what we have: real cognition, tool use, language, the ability to teach across generations so that knowledge accumulates instead of dying with the individual. What does that world look like? It almost certainly doesn't look like ours. The whole shape of a dinosaurian civilization, if one ever emerged, would be built around bodies that work completely differently than ours do. Reptilian metabolisms, even fast metabolizing ones like many theropods, operate on different energetic budgets. The caloric demands that drove primate brain expansion, the need for high-energy foods, the cooking hypothesis, the way fire changed everything about how we extract nutrients. None of that applies the same way. The obstetric pressures that made human infants so helpless and dependent, which may have been a key driver of long-term pair bonding and cooperative child rearing, and the social glue that holds human communities together. Those pressures don't exist for an egg-laying species. The whole social architecture gets built differently from the foundation up. And here's the thing about 66 million additional years. The geography of the planet would be completely unrecognizable. The continents keep moving, climates keep shifting. The Himalayas would be even taller, the Atlantic even wider. Over 66 million years of uninterrupted dinosaurian dominance, you'd have climate events, ice ages, volcanic episodes, sea level changes, all of the same forces that drove mammalian evolution, but applied to a completely different set of organisms. The world that any hypothetical intelligent dinosaurian species would inherit would be so transformed by geological time that predicting its shape becomes almost meaningless. You can't just take today's world and add dinosaurs. The whole history of the planet's surface would be different, and that's before you even get to the asteroid question in reverse. One of the things the KPG extinction did was clear out enormous amounts of ecological space all at once. That's part of why mammalian diversification happened so fast after it, geologically speaking. Empty niches get filled. Without that clearing event, the dinosaurs likely stay in evolutionary equilibrium with their ecosystem for a very long time, because that's what successful lineages do. The pressure to innovate, neurologically, behaviorally, socially, stays lower. You don't reinvent yourself when you're already winning. So paradoxically, the very catastrophe that ended the dinosaurs might be the exact kind of disruption that intelligent life requires to get started in the first place. Extinction isn't just an ending. It's the mechanism by which room gets made for something genuinely new. Now, some researchers have pointed out that even within the mammalian lineage that actually did dominate after the extinction, intelligence still required a very specific set of conditions that almost didn't happen. The apes split from Old World monkeys around 25 million years ago. For millions of years after that, they were diverse and widespread across Africa and Eurasia. And then climate change contracted the forests, and the apes mostly died out, leaving a handful of lineages clinging to refugia in Africa. The specific pressures of that African environment, the mosaic of forest and open woodland, the need to cover long distances for food, the particular social demands of living in complex hierarchies, may have been uniquely suited to pushing one lineage of ape toward the cognitive complexity that eventually became us. Something about that specific place and that specific set of pressures produced something that tens of millions of years of ape evolution elsewhere hadn't managed to produce. Change any of those variables and the whole outcome shifts. Which means that even in the world where the asteroid hits and the dinosaurs die and the mammals take over, our existence still required an almost implausible sequence of lucky breaks stacked on top of each other. And in the world where the asteroid misses, you don't even get to start that sequence. The strangest part of all of this, the part that genuinely keeps scientists from making confident predictions, is how poorly we actually understand the drivers of intelligence. We know that large brains evolved independently in cetaceans and elephants and corvids and primates, which suggests there's something about certain ecological pressures that consistently selects for more neural complexity. But we also know that having a large brain is metabolically expensive and genuinely dangerous. Our own childbirth problem is essentially the skull growing faster than the birth canal can keep pace with, and that most lineages with the raw material for increased intelligence never made the jump. So intelligence isn't inevitable. It's not even common in 4 billion years of life on this planet. It happened fully enough to produce technology exactly once, in one lineage, under a very specific set of conditions that may never have been replicated anywhere else on Earth, even if the starting conditions had been different. Which means the asteroid wasn't just the thing that ended the dinosaurs. It was very possibly the single event that made intelligence possible on this planet at all. Not by being a catalyst for it, but by clearing the board and letting a completely different game begin. Without it, the game that had been running successfully for 165 million years just keeps running. And that game, as far as we can tell, wasn't heading anywhere near a species that would eventually look up at the same sky that dinosaurs lived under and start wondering where it came from. We only get to ask that question because something catastrophic happened first. And there's something deeply uncomfortable about that, if you sit with it long enough.